Good morning, St. Kitts and Nevis, and welcome to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. I'm your host, Devonne Cornelius, and thank you for joining me on the program for today, Friday, May 30th, 2025. It is 4 minutes past the 11 o'clock hour. When we open the phone lines later, you may call us at 467 1977 or 1903 or at 662-8674. That is the cell number and the numbers you call to call in and then your voice to the conversation. We are also live via our social media platforms, so you can check us out on our Facebook page, ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation, and via YouTube at ZIZ Online. Let me greet those of you who are listening from other parts of the globe, whether you are listening from across if you're in Nevis, you're right here in St. Kitts, across the region or further afield. Thank you so much for tuning into today's edition of The Edge. Today we're going to put the focus more so on the regional scene, and it has interest to us here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course the international community. And this has to do with the case involving Adriana Young out of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Now, on Thursday's edition of The Edge, I shared some details regarding the autopsy that was performed on her body, and that her body was then flown to Atlanta, Georgia, USA, for a second opinion, for a second autopsy. And that autopsy concluded last evening, and the findings, or the preliminary findings, have since been shared with the public. The autopsy was performed by Dr. Carol Terry, the chief medical examiner there in the Gwinnett County in Atlanta, Georgia, United States of America. And Dr. Terry was interviewed by Guyanese journalist Travis Chase, who was also on the ground. He was on the ground reporting. The interview was about 15 minutes thereabouts, and Dr. Terry gave her, or presented her statement or statements on the autopsy performed. But I want to just go back a bit, and the reason why I'm doing this is because it could have been any member of our family, in the sense that it could have happened here. It could have happened to somebody who we know. And so I'm going back and I'm sharing some initial details, giving background and context. And then I am going to provide the current information. So, who was Adriana? Adriana was an 11-year-old girl from the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And from my research, she attended the Parika Salim Primary School. Now, following her death, more than 100 students received grief support at the school, and this was done in collaboration with the Child Care Protection Agency, and they offered grief support in response to the untimely death of the former student Adriana Young. And this was really initiated by the Ministry of Education, and they also offered support to, I'm told, approximately 132 students who knew Adriana Young. Now, the timeline of events is that she was last seen alive, reportedly by her grandmother, near the hotel pool on April 23rd, 2025. Her body was found in the same pool the next morning. And then, of course, public concern, rightly so, and social media theories followed. People started asking questions. Was it because of a lack of information? Was it because of the setting in which she was found and the circumstances surrounding how she was found? Her age, a young woman at that. And so in situations like this, when the public doesn't get clear answers quickly, then the rumors start to kick in. And so people would normally start to speculate and sometimes come up with their own thinking, their own theory of what could have possibly happened. And the public pressure pressed the authorities to seek more answers, which is the right thing to have done to get a clearer picture of what really went down. But Adriana Young, 11 years old at the time of her death, last seen April 23rd, near the hotel pool, was found the next morning in the pool. And that's what we know that happened in the initial stage. In terms of where Adriana was the days before, in terms of what her mental state was, we don't know. In terms of her digital footprint, we don't know. All we know is that the last time she was seen alive was April 23rd, near the pool, and then she was found the next morning in the pool, dead. Now, an autopsy took place, and the purpose of the autopsy is self-explanatory in the sense that it was done to determine the cause of her death. How did she die? And so the autopsy is basically a detailed medical investigation after someone dies, and it looks at the body to find out how they died, whether it was natural, accidental, or something criminal. So it's like a crime scene investigation, but on the body. So you have the external exam where they look for bruises, marks, injuries. They found no bruises, no injuries, none of that. Then you have the internal exam where they go inside of the human body. They looked at the organs, especially the lungs, because she was found in a body of water, and they were swollen and water filled, which screams drowning or suggests drowning. And the first toxicology report, they tested her blood and organs for alcohol, drugs, and poisons. Nothing suspicious. Then they did DNA testing. They checked to see if anyone else's DNA was on her, inside her. And what they did, they tested the suspects, the people who are suspected, and they found None of that. Then they did imaging. They used scans and photos to see if anything was missed. If the naked eye missed anything, they found nothing. But the key physical findings were, as I mentioned before, water in the lungs, which suggested drowning, foam in her throat, meaning she was breathing when she went in. No bruises, no cuts, and no signs of struggle, which means that the possibility of her fighting with somebody has been ruled out. If you're fighting with somebody and they're attempting to drown you, even if you are 11 years old or 80 years old, you are going to put down a fight because they're looking out to put you underwater. But they found no bruises, no cuts. I know normally in cases like these, they would look under the fingernails and all of these things to see if skin or DNA from another person is there. They didn't find that. No drugs or no alcohol. Only natural breakdown in the body, and the imprint from the wristband suggests that she stayed in the water for a very long time. I don't believe this was a rush job. We are seeing where 3 experienced pathologists worked on this, who are experts in their field, and they did what they were asked to do, as they have done with other cases. But it's 11:15. We'll take a break. And when we come back, we'll continue the conversation here on The Edge.
The Citizen Security Secretariat is launching a powerful new initiative, the Better Opportunity Fairs, and it all begins on Friday, 30th May on Central Street, Bastille. Join us for the first in a nationwide series of community events designed to connect you with life-changing opportunities. From skills training and youth development to financial guidance, mental health support, and more. Explore booths from Elevate, Aspire, the Inland Revenue Department, and other partners dedicated to uplifting our communities. Enjoy live performances from DJ Taro, Infamous, Ronnie Rascal, and others, plus bounce castles, family fun, food, and drinks. Let's come together and build a safer, stronger St. Kitts and Nevis through empowerment, access, and togetherness. The first Better Opportunity Fair, Friday, 30th May, Central Street, Bastille. Together, we can.
Okay. Foodies are hungry and they're looking for you. Get your restaurant or food spot on the hottest shows, The Morning Show and The Edge, at the perfect time when stomachs are growling and cravings are real. Twice a day, boom, your name, your flavors, front and center. Plus, we're throwing in a sweet bonus deal to give you even more airtime. Don't get left behind. Get featured on Taste on the Town. Call 869-662-8203 or hit up sales@zzonline.com, and let's feed the island with your deliciousness.
Welcome back to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. I'm your host, Devonne Cornelius, and thank you for joining me on the program for today. We're going to open the phone lines shortly and begin taking your calls. For those of you who are just tuning in, I am following the regional development, which I would say has turned international, and that is the case of Adriana Young. And there is some interest here in St. Kitts and Nevis, as we have a large Guyanese community, and my thoughts and prayers and my heart goes out to them, because I would want to believe that most of them, or some of them, perhaps knew or knew the family of Adriana Young. Now, questions are raised as to why the public, may still have their doubts. And theories people started to, float around was whether she was pushed or was there a cover-up. Why people don't, always trust official reports. The role of the media, how quick headlines spread confusion, and then the emotional side of it. People want justice. People want the truth, and they want someone to blame. They want to say, well, that is it. But in all of this, people do want justice. For me, it is okay to ask questions. And I think anybody, for that matter, would be out of place to suggest that it is not okay to ask questions. It is healthy to ask questions. But it does not mean that we should ignore what is in front of us thus far. We should not just speculate. We should not just come up with our own theories. We ask questions, yes, but we also examine thoroughly and carefully the information in front of us. And with that examination, you can determine if that information is factual or if that information has been influenced or coerced. If it's nonsense, you can. Now, looking at what Dr. Terry said, for me was significant. So there was a second autopsy by a fourth pathologist. So the first autopsy was by 3 pathologists, and then this second autopsy was by one pathologist, Dr. Carol Terry. Now, who is Dr. Terry? She is a respected pathologist who was recommended by the family, from my understanding, through their lawyer or their legal representative. And she reviewed the same materials and the findings, and she urged caution in the sense that she said, and I'm just paraphrasing, she didn't see everything in person, and so she doesn't want to jump to conclusions. Hence the reason why she did say that I cannot definitively say that she drowned. But ultimately, she did not dispute the first autopsy. As a matter of fact, Dr. Terry, in her interview last night, said that the first autopsy was competently and thoroughly done, though there are different techniques. And when she said that, I stopped for a moment and I said, well, I wonder what she mean by different techniques. And so I was reasoning with my colleague earlier, and I said, different techniques could mean, okay, let's say GQ and I are chefs and we're making a macaroni pie today. GQ might use carnation milk and I might use heavy cream. GQ might use the elbow macaroni, but I might use the pasta looking swirly ones with the butter ones, He might bake his macaroni pie in a Whirlpool oven, but I'm going to use a Samsung. But it's the same macaroni pie, really and truly, but different styles and different techniques. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, because maybe he trained at a different in a different setting, and I was trained in a different setting, which is the case here with these pathologists. They're all pathologists, they're all forensic experts, but obviously they have different experiences and different training. Hence the reason why she said different techniques. So maybe she would cut vertically and they would cut horizontally, things like that. But she did not dispute the first autopsy to say, well, it was done incorrectly and they deliberately left out this or anything of that sort. So in a sense, she reinforced the actual findings. What she did not do was definitively say, yeah man, Adriana Young drowned. And I can understand why. Now, it's possible to grieve and still accept medical facts, and tragedy doesn't always come with a villain. It doesn't always come with like that bad person or whatever. Sometimes, let me just say, sometimes the truth is sad but simple. But I want to make a quick injection here. I am not feeling what the family of Adriana Young is feeling right now. I'm not related to her. I don't know her. And I am not personally invested in this. And so perhaps it is easier for me to speak on this than the family, because I don't have that grief and that anger there. Maybe if I was, had I been in their position, I would have been saying something as completely different. And this is me being fair and realistic. I perhaps would have been just as angry and emotionally distressed as the family of Adriana Young. That I have to say, and that I totally understand. And so, with all of this, we have to talk about the importance of the mental health support and being there for the family during this very difficult time, because it's a heartbreaking story, no doubt. But I believe in all of this, the facts matter. The facts definitely matter. In this autopsy, there was no evidence of trauma. There was no evidence of sexual assault. But what Dr. Terry said struck me. She said the absence of trauma does not necessarily equate to no foul play. So not because I didn't find any trauma in the body doesn't mean that there's no foul play. Because she stated that there are ways to kill someone without leaving any physical trauma. You just have to restrict their ability to breathe and restrict oxygen from their brain. Once your brain loses oxygen, then your brain completely shuts down, right? But then looking at the first autopsy and this autopsy, the toxicology report and all of these different things, I started asking the question, how do you restrict oxygen from somebody without leaving any trace of that, whether physical or non-physical? And who would go such great lengths of doing such or carrying out such a murder to leave absolutely no physical evidence or physical trail that 4 top of the top pathologists can't even find? I mean, and then who would go great lengths to ensure that these 4 pathologists said the same thing? These 4 pathologists, 3 or 2 of whom I understand have no relations at all with Guyana and who've never been to Guyana. I mean, who? But I looked at the interview last night, and I'm happy that, Dr. Terry shared her findings, because people were anxious and people wanted to get, a better understanding of what happened and how could this have happened. Dr. Terry said, though, and she said this from her years of experience dealing with autopsies and criminal cases, that this is now in the hands of law enforcement. And so law enforcement now has to go back and find out what happened between April 23rd and April 24th. And so it may mean looking at digital footprint, It may mean checking different things, cameras and all of that, and starting with the last person who saw her alive. I think that is common sense. You start with the last person who saw the victim alive. And for me, you don't move forward until you could definitively confirm that the last person who saw the victim alive had absolutely nothing to do with it. Now, this is not me at all suggesting that is what the case is. But you still have to look. And that's what Dr. Terry is saying. You still have to look. But from a forensic and a medical standpoint, there's nothing that they can point to say that Adriana Young was murdered. And so now they're calling on the law enforcement, whether it be the Guyana police force or the international police or whatever the case may be. There's nothing they now would have to take control or take this case and do whatever. And for those of you who may want to know, the three pathologists were Dr. Shabaka Kara Paul, Dr. Glenn Rodner, and Dr. Gary Collins. You can take some time and research these people, see who they are, check out their work, and whatever. No, there's something else that I learned that was kind of mind-blowing, was when the doctor said you can't determine that somebody drowned from an autopsy. Meaning, drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion. In other words, they have to rule out everything else for them to say it was drowning. So the pathologists who said she drowned because they found no evidence of anything else. You understand where I'm coming from? They found no evidence of choking. They found no evidence of perhaps being poisoned. None of that. We have a caller. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Good morning.
Greetings.
Yes, caller. Go ahead.
Thanks to the reasoning. This time to taking. Okay, we're going to step on the reasoning a little bit and we're going to share observation. So, what that be an invisible crime or in a crime?
Invisible crime or in a crime? I don't know.
She killed herself with suicide? Eh?
I don't know.
Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay, so me say, what's your conclusion with that matter?
I myself can't even come to a conclusion, to be honest with you, caller, in the sense that from what I have seen and the facts presented to me by experts, I cannot challenge it because I am not an expert in their field. I can't tell them that what they have found is not the case. And them saying that drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion, I understand in the sense that they have ruled out what it could have possibly been. And so, because they have ruled out what it could have possibly been, they have now concluded with drowning, because nothing else is showing up. No choking, no poisoning, no strangling, none of that. But I can't jump to conclusions and say that she unalive herself or anything of that sort.
All right, it reminds me when by the reason me listen, and it reminds me of the many forms of polite violence. Okay. We want to share observation. We had the banning of plastic t-shirt bans, right?
Yes.
Just like in other spaces that have done so. But you know what we start to observe, and we did say before we go on, we did say that the problem is not the plastic bag. The problem is the disposing of the same and other things that we call garbage. That's where the problem lies. We have use for the bags and other bags, for the plastic bags and other bags. Anyhow, are not uses, many uses. Now, after that banning, we see the replacement with you know what, many different, many different forms of bags. That is not t-shirt plastic bag. And you know what we start to see? We start to see the littering with the same bag that has replaced the plastic bag. Are you with me?
Yes, you're saying you're seeing people throw away reusable bags? You're saying that you've seen people...
You're echoing a bit. Your voice... I'm not picking up here. But go ahead. I'll try to listen.
Yeah,
I'm saying, as I said a while ago, the problem is not with the item. The problem is human beings who are nasty. We have many forms of invention for our purposes. We just have to be we are intelligent beings. We are superb creation, You don't see, except when people, the same nasty people, and put things here and there. You don't see dogs and stuff and other animals walk and litter, apart from peeing and doodling. You don't see that? You just them walk and drop things, chuck things, truck things here with a big or small. You just see them do that?
Yes.
The human species do that. And that includes the human people, the people in senses and evils, who are nasty. They just walk and drop, walk and leave, drive and so they see there's nothing.
All right. All right, call it.
Just wanted to share that observation that we see the other about them, that we place plastic.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution to the program.
You're welcome.
We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, hello. A blessed good morning. I relate to the show. I went on a bus in town to Chemical Church, right? And when I reached New Guinea, he had a little boy jump out the bus, and the boy said, "Suppose me not pay you." The bus man said to him, "I'll chop you up." I said, "And when you don't chop him up, you're going back to Antigua." He tell me, "Mr. Fast," and he gonna drop me a saddlers. But he didn't go in a Christ Church. I'm going to Christ Church, but he dropped me a saddlers. And suppose something, I went to he give me back my money. And I went to the police station. The police is telling me that he give me back my money. That is not the case. I pay him to go a journey, and because I tell him he mustn't behave like that, because when he kill the boy, he going back to Antigua. He said me too fast, and he put me a saddlers. We supposed to protect our country. And they're supposed to protect, because we couldn't go in Antigua to say that kind of thing. Otherwise, they're like us, they're the bangers. So, I don't tell him be here. He tell me, and put me out the saddles, and he put me out. And I saw it going.
All right.
And the police, they telling me that I gave up my money. Police supposed to be so coin, but instead of that, they had to quit. Anyway, I went to the bus, the owner of the bus, and the owner said he going to talk to him, because that man is a rude man. I'm going on, but the boss he won.
All right, Carla, thank you for your...
You take care. Good program.
Thank you for your contribution, and thank you for reporting that to the police. It is 11:39. You're listening to The Edge on ZIZ Radio. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
Jamaican patties are back at Rituals Coffee House. Enjoy our full lineup of flaky, flavor-packed patties, beef, chicken, cheesy beef, and cheesy chicken. Hot, hearty, and perfect for any time of day. Head down to Rituals to get yours today.
Hey, guess what? It's Radio Market.
Call in and sell your merchandise. You can negotiate, give away and trade.
We on radio, internet, and TV.
Like us, share us, and subscribe to
ZIZonline.com.
And remember, we don't sell nothing over $5,000. Join us right here on ZIZ Radio every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. Call 465-1977, 465-1903, or 662-8674. ZIZ Radio, giving back to the people.
Welcome back to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio, 96.1 FM. I'm your host, Devonne Cornelius, and thank you for joining me on the program for today. It is 11:41. The phone lines remain open at 467-1977 or at 1903 and 662-8674. That is 662-8674. I want to quickly share a statement from you from the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, and the Small Business and the Creative Economy, the Honorable Samuel Duggins. It is with sincere regret that we announce the postponement of the Nigeria and St. Kitts and Nevis Exchange opening ceremony and business expo, an international friendly football match originally scheduled to begin today, Friday, May 30th, 2025. The exchange, which stems from two historic memoranda of understanding signed earlier this year, one in agriculture and the other in the creative economy, marks a bold and visionary partnership between our nations. It is a reflection of our mutual commitment to innovation, cultural exchange, and economic opportunity. We assure the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, our partners in Nigeria, and stakeholders that the momentum we've created will continue and the engagements planned will be rescheduled for the earliest and most suitable time. We take this opportunity to thank everyone, our teams, local entrepreneurs, artists, business leaders, and citizens who have or who rallied around this effort. And your support demonstrates the value we place on regional and international cooperation. We remain committed to delivering an experience that is impactful, inspiring, and truly representative of what's possible when Africa and the Caribbean unite. That's from Minister Samuel Duggins, and the Nigerian delegation or contingent. They too also issued a statement, as they have reported that they have experienced issues with the aircraft, and so that has been postponed for those persons who may be wondering. It's 11:44, and you're listening to The Edge on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. For those of you who are just tuning in, for the most part, we've been discussing the Adriana Young case, and today is going to be the last time I speak on this. I think the results of the first and second autopsy, they've basically said the same thing. I don't know where they would go next in terms of the family and police. I don't know what happens next in a case like this. But in all of this, we need to respect the family's grieving process and, be careful of what we say and what we post online. The speculation and the conspiracy theories and all of these different things encourage a better understanding of autopsies and so on. This is good. Let's head back to the phone line and take this call. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. My condolences goes out.
Yes, caller, could you speak up? I'm not hearing you clearly.
Yes, as I was saying, I give my condolences to the family of the deceased, Adriana Young and Diana. It's unfortunate. Emotion most time take precedent. Emotion take over everything most time when it comes to a tragic incident such as this. So, as I say, I give once again. It's unfortunate,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's my take on that topic. The other topic I want to
Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. The phones remain open, and we're taking your calls at 467-1977 or 1903 or at 662-8674. That's 662-8674. We have a caller.
Yes, hello, me again. The drinks, them gone, the malt and everything gone up. Somebody said about the cable going up, But looking at this farm where you got to full out and line when you're going where or when you're going on the boat. This farm, when I went said nothing, I win some ticket to go and at the shore and the boat from this ZIZ. And when I sent my grandson pull out the farm, so when we come back now we think it, some two white men there and saying that the farm them changed. How long they keep us up there, and you go pay $27 for them put it up because the farm them thing. They change on the farm them and the longer I understand. You take care.
All right. Okay, caller. It is 11:47, and we're taking your calls here on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM, 467-1977 or 1903. Or at 662-8674, calling in your voice to the conversation at hand. But speaking on the Adriana Young case there in Guyana, we need to focus on transparency instead of conspiracy. Coming up with our own idea of what happened and then being so affirmative with it. It's like, this is what I think happened and it happened. I'm not arguing with no forensic scientists. I'm not arguing with no police or anybody of that sort. I believe this is what happened and it happened. We need to stop that. We need to stop being in the business of that, because the things that we say can be very damaging. Now, I have also seen comments that suggest that there are people who want this thing to close and let's just close the case and move on. it's easy for a lot of people to say to move on because, again, it is not your sister or your daughter. But I don't think it's a case where people just want to close it and move on. People have accepted the details presented by the forensic experts, and we can't be upset with those people. I mean, we're not always going to agree on everything. And so if some have accepted that, then that's fine. Let's go back to the phone lines. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning again. I got cut off. I don't know what's the issue with the line.
No, you weren't cut off from our end. The phone just hung up.
Oh no, the call dropped. I'm using the landline apparatus.
Okay.
Okay. The other topic I wanted to weigh in on is the transition from the plastic bag to biodegradable product, right?
Mm-hmm.
I respect what the RAS was saying, but what we need to understand is that it's not just about the careless disposal of garbage, but it's the harm that the plastic does. And so persons also need to understand that. Yes, we have to advocate for a cleaner federation, but we also have to understand that it's not just the cleanliness, but it's the dangers of the plastic to our livelihoods, such as the fish in the sea and the turtles and so forth. The paper would rot when it's in the ground. The paper will also digest if the fish or the turtle eats it. And so I just want to weigh in on that so that persons understand that transitioning from plastic to paper, it's better, it's healthier, and more economical as well. Always.
All right, caller, thank you for your contribution to the program. We are winding down. It's 11:51 here in the studios of ZIZ Radio, 96.1 FM. I'm Devonne Cornelius, and thank you for joining me on the program for today. For those of you who may have just tuned in, we were on the topic of the Adriana Young case out of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And the report, or the findings of the second autopsy have since been released. And that autopsy was conducted by Dr. Carol Terry out of Atlanta, Georgia, who is the chief medical examiner at I think it's Gwinnett County there in Atlanta. And she has stated that she found no evidence of trauma, no physical evidence of trauma, but believes that it warrants it warrants a thorough criminal investigation. But based from a forensic standpoint, they have not found anything. Let's go back to the phone lines. Caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Good morning.
Yes, I'm asking a question about, and I heard about the sale of the Crystal Harbor. Did you figure how much it was actually sold for?
I have not seen the figure in terms of how much it was actually sold for, but from the report presented, it says almost or about $25 million in direct payments to institutions that had debts with the Christoph Harbour. But I've not seen the actual price tag.
But the actual sales figure was not given by him.
Sorry?
The actual sales figure was not given by the Prime Minister, how much was sold for.
No, I can't say he didn't give the figure. I'm saying I have not seen the figure. I will go back to see if he gave the figure. But at news time right now, I have not seen the figure.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome, and thank you so much for your contribution. 11:53, you're listening to The Edge, and we are winding down. We are still taking your calls at 467-1977 or 1903 or 662-8674. Yes, caller. So what I'm saying is I have not seen the total figure. Doesn't necessarily mean there isn't one. I just haven't seen it. But today we were focusing on the Adriana Young case and looking at what transpired there in Guyana, looking at the findings of the first autopsy and of the second autopsy, and trying to get a clearer picture or a clearer understanding. For me, I think the goal in all of this is truth and not speculation, ensuring that we have all of the facts and we have the facts straight, and we're not twisting or bending or anything of that sort. I also want to call on our people to be responsible in the things that they share on social media surrounding this case. This is not me telling you what to post and what not to post, but sometimes the emotions get the best of you and you get yourself in trouble. Let's head back to the phone lines. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Concerning the little girl that died, if the autopsy can't say what she died from, all God knows, all the family have to do, just keep on praying, and God gonna answer prayer. And where the Bible says, "Vengeance is mine, and I will repay." Because that person, just keep on praying that person, whoever killed that girl, have restless days and sleepless nights. And one day, they're going to come out. You're going to hear who killed her. So I know it's hard, but just keep on praying for that person who killed your child, that they may have restless days and sleepless nights, and God work in his own time. And we will find out who it is, because the conscience is going to be with them all the time. And my condolences go out to those family. I could imagine, I can't say how they feel, I could imagine you lost a child and don't know how it happened. So that's what I have to say.
All right, caller, thank you. 11:55, we're winding down. We'll take just about one more call before we wrap up the discussion. But I was making the point that the goal in all of this is truth and not speculation. We've seen and we've heard the reports of both of the autopsies, and the autopsies have said that they have seen no foul play. The toxicology report, DNA, and some of the questions that came to my mind is how, which led the pathologists, the first three pathologists, to conclude that it must have been drowning, because they've ruled out what it could have possibly been. That is why they said that drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion. Drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion, which therefore means that they have eliminated all other possible causes of death. And because she was in water, and because they have excluded what it could have possibly been, because they found no evidence to suggest that it could have possibly been anything else, they have stopped at drowning. Where do you go from here? Or do you go anywhere from here? Those are two of the questions. But we have a caller. Okay, let's say this final call. Caller, quickly. Hello, caller.
Good day.
Yes, quickly. We only have about a minute left. Go ahead.
Good day. Hello.
Yes, caller, go ahead. You're on the line. I said we only have about a minute left. Go ahead. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, caller, go ahead.
Yeah, yesterday I was running through Facebook. I saw Everton Powell post something on Facebook that was very disgusting. he said that nobody murdered that child. I'm from Guyana. That child was murdered. You know, and the government of Guyana covered up everything.
Caller. All right. It's 11:58, and you're listening to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio. We owe it to Adriana and every young woman whose death has been politicized and sensationalized to focus on the truth and not speculation. We must not be in the business of speculation and suggesting what may have happened, especially if we have no facts to back up anything of that sort. I do understand the emotional investment that you or others may have. I really, really do. But I cannot be supporting or encouraging speculation. And I say that with the greatest of respect. I cannot support speculation, especially against the backdrop of what has been presented by 1, 2, 3, 4 pathologists. Until next time, you guys, stay safe and continue to enjoy the rest of your Friday. Don't drink and drive, don't text and drive, and please take it easy on the road. Coming up now is our midday newscast. The views and opinions expressed by participants and callers during this program are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or policies of ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation, its management,